that's the least surprising thing I've ever heard. So
Right.
it'll be cool. It'll be weird because they're not going to be on the Patriots anymore. It'll be fun because I don't like the Patriots, but it ought to be interesting. That's for sure. It'll be something new. Them both being on Tampa.
Yeah, now the NFC South is going to be loaded with the Saints, the Panthers, Falcons. But the only two teams I can see only competing is the Saints and the Buccaneers now. So that's going to be a tough dogfight between the Saints Buccaneers. So because I know Drew Brees is up for anything for his career. So I think it's going to be interesting in the NFC South. But we're here to talk about the Yankees. The draft is 2 days away. So we'll get to the draft later on. But so first of all, can you explain how your podcast came about, Yapping Yankees?
Yeah, sure. So I thought to start it after I graduated college, and I graduated last May, almost a year ago. I had done a ton of work at college. I was the assistant manager at my school's radio station. I did 2 sports talk shows there. I did color and play-by-play commentary for the school's basketball teams. And I did 2 internships, too. It was a part of my program to graduate with my bachelor's in mass communications broadcasting. And once I graduated, I wanted to keep my broadcasting skills really sharpened and honed. So I really thought it would be a good idea to start a podcast. And I had already been doing years worth of sports talk programming or sports talk shows on my college's radio station. And I had a great time doing it. They were live shows. It was a ton of fun. I did one with a friend of mine, and one was my own show, my own solo show. So I was like, I would have a great time doing my own podcast, especially if it's solely to do with the Yankees. It'd be even more fun. So for those reasons alone, after I graduated, I knew that while I was on the job hunt, I'll probably have a bit less to do in the meantime. So why not start up a fun little side project like a podcast, see where it goes. I know I had a decent following on Twitter that could get me going a little bit, and I could form a good listenership, which I have. And it's a lot of fun to do every day to pop out content. And it's even more interesting to do in these times when there's nothing going on. But that's what really motivated me. After I graduated, I wanted to keep the broadcasting going and keep the content going. And it's been a blast so far. I love doing my podcast every week.
Yeah, you do a fantastic job. I've been following you for a long time, and you come up with good content, and you just keep it going, man. Especially during this time, I'm like kind of constantly reaching out to people to come on the show, or they reach out to me. So it's all about at this time. It's all about connecting with people and keep pushing. But let's talk about the Yankees, because earlier today's like a Yankee day, because I had Kyle Condor on earlier and I had Danny Casapola on. So what was your reaction when we signed?
You cut out for a long time there, buddy. I missed a lot of that. Sorry.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. You're good now.
Yeah, all right. So my question was, obviously we needed a pitcher this offseason, and the number 1 ace. So what was your reaction when we signed Garrett Cole to that monster deal, the 90 at 324 deal?
Well, obviously some people have their opinions on the amount of money he was signed to, but all I know is that the night it happened, obviously I think anybody who was on Twitter that night, really a part of Yankees Twitter, I think we all knew there was something going on that night, and we felt like something was going to happen. And so I stayed awake.
Me too. I was awake the whole time.
Yep. Yeah. I remember it happened like towards the middle of the night. It was late when they would. So I was awake and I was going ballistic. I was so happy. And it was great sharing in the happiness of everybody on the timeline, because it was a really exciting time, because the last time Cashman had gone out and went out big time to sign that pitcher that was on the market that everybody wanted was arguably back in 2009 when he signed CeCe, and then he signed right away at the same time simultaneously. So it was really good to have that feeling again of him going out there and getting that pitcher that basically everybody knew that he had to get, and he was being pressured to get. I mean,
Yeah.
you see on Twitter, everybody just big time pressuring the Yankees and Brian Cashman, get this guy, get this guy.
Yeah.
So when it finally happened, it almost felt surreal because, like, the Yankees have Garrett Cole, holy crap! But it was so much fun, and it was a really happy night for me as a Yankee fan, and for everybody, because it sucks that we haven't gotten to see him in a regular season game yet. But we all know what he's capable of, and we know that in the last few years how desperate the Yankees have been for some really solid starting pitching. As good as Severino has been, and as good as we know he could be, he's had a lot of trouble with injuries these last couple of years. Masahiro Tanaka, he's very inconsistent in the regular season. We all know how he turns it on in October, though, and that's really what matters. But in the regular season, he's not very consistent. And then James Paxton, although he really was resurgent in the second half last year, he's now dealing with the injury trouble right now, although it's fine because there's nothing going on.
Right.
But then he had Jordan Montgomery, who was really finding his way, then needed Tommy John. And so the Yankees just overall, they've had a tough time with pitching the last few years. There's a lot more names throughout the years I haven't mentioned. But it's really good to just go out there and get that ace you know you're going to be able to rely on, even if it's at a high price. But it was really, really good for those reasons, especially to just know that the Yankees really care, and they really were like, all right, it's about that time now. Enough time has passed. We've tried to get by with our pitching as much as possible, but we could really use the help of Garrett Cole, regardless of the cost. And it really just felt like the Yankees were the Yankees, because that's really when the Yankees are in their time of need and they really need that one more piece to the puzzle to create that big team they really want. They really want to flex their muscle sometimes, and they really did that night. Made it feel even better, and it was a great sign. And I just hope we could see him on the game that counts.
I was in Jacksonville when that news happened. I was in Jacksonville. Next morning, I was in the gym, in the hotel gym. I did my reaction video live from the gym about the Garrett Cole news. I was so happy, and it was kudos to Cashman, because for him to get the criticized from the fans to go after Machado, Harper, but he went the smarter route by getting LeMahieu, Ottavino, and those type of players, and he kept waiting for this moment. I think you know why some Yankee fans are not patient is because they expect us to make moves. But Cashman was smart, and it paid out. So I feel like he was waiting. You hear me?
No, yeah, and yeah, you just went out again, but now you're back.
Oh, okay.
But so yeah, I'm glad you actually mentioned the Harper and Machado thing, because that's actually I agree, and I remember that time when everybody was going so nuts about wanting to get one of those two. I'll tell you right now, although it obviously would have been nice to have a Manny or a Harper, I'm not denying that they're great players, they're good players. But I was actually I was in the minority. I think it's safe to say, and you can go back on Twitter and look up my tweets if you want. It's true. I was in the minority to actually defend Cashman for not putting everything out there and not like throwing the entire organization's money at those two guys. And I was actually very thrilled when he got LeMahieu, because my eyes were on the Rockies for a long time, because for the last few years, I've always liked the Rockies offense. Carlos Gonzalez, DJ LeMahieu, Charlie Blackmon. I've always just been fascinated by the Rockies offense, and I've always seen them in action. And DJ was one of them. I'd always known that DJ was a very capable defender, and I've always known what he was capable of offensively as well. So I knew what he was capable of. And when the Yankees signed him, I was actually really thrilled, because everybody was all going, oh my God, they didn't sign Machado or Harper. They're the big names, them or bust. But I was like, you guys need to give DJ a chance, because I don't know how many of you watch the Rockies, or you don't even have to watch the Rockies consistently. Just watch some highlights of them if you've caught them on a highlight reel or something. You can see what these guys are capable of, especially DJ. And I knew what he was capable of, and I was willing to give him a chance. And I'm glad that I defended that, because that was one of the better takes I've had on Twitter. And I was attacked a bit for it at the time when I was out there defending DJ's skill. And when I was telling everybody to just give this a chance, let the regular season start, what he's capable of, and if he performs the way that I think he's capable of, he's going to be a big hit. And to say he was a big hit, pun intended, is saying the least. It's an understatement. So I'm glad I defended him. It's one of the things that I'm proud of as far as baseball takes from the past. But DJ is one of the better signings, I think, in recent history. I would say that.
Yeah. I agree with you there, 100%. I feel like I think after this year, I wonder how much money he's going to ask for, but I don't know how much cash is willing to give him. But do you see a point where if LeMahieu repeats the season he had last year, do you see Cashman going like 6 years for him, or no? Too much. Yeah.
I mean, the Yankees have been personally and I know so many people are so against talking about batting average nowadays. Like, nobody gives a crap about batting average anymore. And I don't solely look at batting average. I look at a lot of stats: batting average, home runs, RBIs, OBP, OPS. I look at that stuff. I don't go too crazy with the sabermetrics like a lot of people do, but I look at the good stats, and I also look at stats that some people consider to be useless, which I don't. But the Yankees in the last few years, all I know is that they haven't really been great with a lot of 300 hitters in the last 10 years or so. They've had them, but not. They've struggled with them at times. And last year, it was really nice to have two on the team in Gio and DJ, and both produced incredible moments for the Yankees throughout the entire season. It's undeniable. So I do think that their high batting average and their capabilities at the plate, I think that should count for something regardless, because they produced some great moments. And their batting reflected that. They both had high averages, and they were two of the most important hitters in the lineup. So there's some correlation there. But I do think for the sole purpose that DJ hits for average, and he hits to get on base, and he's not always trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's trying to put the bat to the ball. That's what's important in this sport, and a lot of players have lost perspective on that. So I think DJ is very important, that especially if he repeats a 2019. His 2019 was what I thought he would do plus $1 million. Well, if he repeats that, then I would find it really hard to believe that you just wouldn't give DJ. If he demanded 6 years, I'm giving him 6 years. Even if it was just 2 years. I mean, if he's going to give you a 315, 320 average, if he's going to hit 15 to 20 home runs, if he's going to bat in 100, if he's going to bat in around 100, if he's going to have an OBP through the roof, an OPS through the roof, what are you doing? Bring him back. And if he's going to give you that elite defense, he's a multi-gold glove award winner. What are you waiting for? Your work's cut out for you if you're the Yankees. So if he repeats anything 2019, I give it to him. I do.
Yeah, so now let's talk about Severino, because I brought this up to Danny and Kyle earlier. For me, especially, this is my opinion. I really thought, obviously, he was supposed to be our ace, and luckily now, I told Danny this, we would have been in a shit show if we didn't get Garrett Cole, but luckily we have Garrett Cole now. But Severino, I feel like, what's his ceiling? Because with all these injuries he's having now, I'm really concerned, especially with the Tommy John surgery. So what do you think his ceiling is for the future for us?
Well, given on what you said, I'm going to agree with you. And if Danny said the same thing, then I agree with her too. I think Luis Severino's career is in a bit of danger. I don't want to sound utterly ridiculous when I say that. I'm not saying his career is over, but the last couple of years, he's supposed to be really what's the word? He's supposed to be really like heading towards his prime right now. I know he's still very young. He's in his mid-20s, but at the same time, Luis Severino is supposed to be transitioning into another place where he's supposed to be morphing into that ace we all know he was supposed to be. And he's missed the last couple of years due to some severe injuries. And when this whole saga started, when they said Tommy John, after all the time he's already missed, and I really had high hopes for him this year. Obviously, even if he was healthy right now, we wouldn't be playing, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, I did have high hopes for him this year if we were to be playing and if he were healthy, because he did come back at the end of last year. He managed to get some starts in before the playoffs. He pitched in Minnesota. He struggled a little bit, but he still got through it. He did fine. And I really thought that coming back at the end of the season and then having a full 2020 ahead of him, which of course we know is not, but if it were to be, he had a full 2020 season ahead of him. And I thought that was really going to be the point where he makes that sharp right turn for the better, and he turns into that ace we know him to be. When the report came out that he was getting Tommy John, that was really discouraging to me because he's missing years of his career now that are crucial to his development and his transformation into the ace we know he can be. And with this Tommy John surgery, he's probably not going to be back until early or mid 2021, I would say. That's a guess, a shot in the dark. There's no way to really tell with Tommy John until you start rehabbing and see where you're at, but that's just a guess. And, as time goes along, we're not getting any younger. We're only getting older. Luis Severino will still be a good age by the time he's set to go, but Tommy John is a very big surgery to get. It's the ultimate surgery for a pitcher, and it could alter careers. So it could take velocity away from Severino when he comes back, or it could not. You just don't know. It could take away movement on certain pitches. They said what hurt his elbow in the first place was throwing the changeup. I heard a few reports about that. Will he have to eliminate the changeup when he's already just a 3-pitch pitcher? These are questions you have to ask. So if this alters his career severely, which I think his career is in at least somewhat danger after this Tommy John surgery, you have to wonder what his future is. I still hope he could be that 1A to Garrett Cole, because now that Garrett Cole's on the team, I think it's safe to say he's the ace. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
But the dream for Severino after he was signed was that he could be Garrett Cole's 1A, and that could really create an overwhelming 1-2 punch. But now that Luis Severino is going to miss significant time again because of injury, probably the most severe one for a pitcher at that, I'm not too sure about his career. I don't think it's understating it that I don't think it's overstating it to say that it is danger. I do.
Yeah, I agree. But I feel like I think the wild card in this rotation is Jordan Montgomery, and I feel like if these pitchers pan out well in the minors, don't be surprised if what's his name, Clark Schmitz gets a call up. If you do have a season, don't be surprised if Schmidt gets calls up and be in the rotation. I think it's time for these young pitchers to step up now, and I feel like if everything pans out in the minors, then you can see Schmidt or David Garcia in here on this rotation pretty soon with Jordan Montgomery and Garrett Cole and Tanaka, whoever, Paxton. Yeah.
It's funny you bring up Montgomery because I don't know how much you saw me say this on Twitter and heard how much I said it on the podcast. I was for a while, until all the coronavirus stuff started to occur here in the United States, I was probably Jordan Montgomery's biggest cheerleader up until things were suspended and stopped. I had huge aspirations for Jordan Montgomery, and I expected him to have a career year this year because, like Luis Severino, he was coming off of Tommy John surgery at the end of last year, Jordan Montgomery. And like Luis Severino, he was able to come back at the end of last season and get some work in, and then rest for the offseason, get some work in throughout, then work out, stay in shape, and then have a 2020 ahead of them. And I just expected Jordan Montgomery's career to go into an entire other stratosphere. I thought he was going to take off and easily be a big part of that rotation, even if it was in the mid to back end of it. So if anything, if for any Yankee player that I'm really ticked off for that all of this happened and baseball had to come to an end, which I'm not saying baseball shouldn't have come to an end. Obviously, the defeat of this virus is number one important. But as far as baseball is concerned, the player that I'm most upset for that he couldn't play out the season that I had such big aspirations for is Jordan Montgomery. I really thought he was going to kick it into another gear this year. I still don't doubt that he can when and if we come back. Sure. But I had big hopes for him at the start of this season, which was, I can't believe I'm saying it was supposed to start almost a month ago.
Yeah,
But I had big hopes, and I do hope that it doesn't change by the time we do come back, because I was hoping that, I've always loved his stuff. I've always thought that regardless of any other inconsistencies were in the Yankees rotation throughout time, you always had consistency in Montgomery. He had low to mid 3 ERA. He rarely got blown up in the start, and he didn't really ever have like a 8-inning shutout start either. But you knew what you were going to get from him, and there's some sort of a comfort in consistency. And I felt Montgomery was always consistent at the least. And after having his elbow repaired, health permitting, that's why I just expected him to have a dominant season. I really did. So I hope that could still happen once we get back.
I brought up two comparisons that he reminds me of. He's not overpowering, obviously, but he reminds me of an Andy Pettit type of pitcher and a Cole Hamels type of pitcher, in my opinion.
Andy Pettit more than anything. Always saw him as an Andy Pettit comparison. I 100% agree with that. 100%. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the exact sort of windup, but the stuff is similar in the sense you're not really blowing anybody away with a 98-mile-an-hour fastball or anything. You have a lot of different pitches you could go to. You still have a very good fastball to work with that can strike out a fair amount of people. And plus his breakings. I've always loved Montgomery's breaking stuff. He's got that huge curveball that I love when he goes to. He's got a great slider, good off-speed pitch. I like his fastball. So he's had a lot of good stuff, and I 100% agree with the Andy Pettit comparison, 100%.
Yeah, so before we get to here, I think Shaq, one of the listeners who joined, he said he had Monty winning 12 games. Yeah, I saw that happening too, more than 12 games, because he was going to be in the rotation anyway. So, Monty is capable of winning 12 games. I agree with him there. But to the pitching coach now, obviously we have a new pitching coach, and Matt Blake, and I'm excited for this because I feel like he brings a new wave of technology with the analytics. And Garrett Cole, man, he loves analytics, so this will help Garrett Cole big time and rest of the rotation. So what do you think? Do you think what kind of effect he will have with the pitching rotation this year, Matt Blake?
Honestly, there's no definitive answer. I hope he has a good one because especially how statistic and analytics driven the game is now. And since he seems to be such a guru in that area, I would hope that it means that he would really have a positive effect, especially if he works so well with Garrett Cole. That'd be amazing because Garrett Cole himself is quite the pitching guru. You always see him going around and talking to the other pitchers about craft and their technique and just pitching in general. I mean, Garrett Cole's a pitcher, but he's also a pitching guru. He knows a lot about it. A lot of working on his own stuff, helping other people, and just talking about and having conversations. So me and Matt Blake can gel together like that, and Matt Blake can bring some other perspectives to the table. I kind of find it hard to imagine that he wouldn't help. But unfortunately, Matt Blake's resume is not unbelievably long. He's a very young guy, and he's worked at much lower levels of baseball in the past, so there's not all that much that you could say, like as far as looking back in the past and bringing up some huge credentials, like someone who's been experienced in Major League Baseball for decades. That's not Matt Blake, but I don't hold that against him. I still think he could do a good job. But if he has as much knowledge to the table as the Yankees say that they're confident that he has, I think he'll do a fine job. I'm always open to giving everybody a chance. I do think the Yankees needed a change to begin with Larry Rothschild. I'm glad they got rid of him. But with Matt Blake, I know a lot of people were kind of shocked by that hiring because he's a young guy. Nobody's ever really heard of him before. But I'm always open to giving somebody chances. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's life. But if it does work, then it was a great move. So give it a chance.
Yeah, because I feel like he has a lot of good knowledge now because he was with the Cleveland organization because they had Kluber, Mike Clevenger, all those nasty pitchers. Now I feel like he can bring that knowledge what he had in Cleveland to New York. I think he will do a good job. But like you said, we don't know anything yet, and we'll give him a chance. But let me ask you this. Actually, I had the opportunity to interview Rachel Bolkovich yesterday. She's the Yankees hired her as the first female hitting coach to be in the minors. Yeah, so I had the opportunity to interview her. She came on yesterday. I just want to get your take now. Now this generation, how the women's now getting opportunities to coach male sports and how it has grown over the years.
I love it. I know there were a lot of guys out there that, and that's, everybody has their opinions, whatever. I know there are a lot of guys that think that females shouldn't be involved in male sports at all. I think a female having a coaching role in a male game is totally fine. In fact, I'm totally for it. Yeah. My outlook on it is that I don't care what sex or gender you are. If you know what you're talking about, then hire you. That's how I'm hiring you if you know what you're talking about and you can benefit my team. I'm hiring you. I don't care what. So that's the way you really have to look at it, and that's how I look at it. So I look past the part that she's even a woman because I don't care about that. If she knows what she's doing, then that's what matters, and I'm all for it. All for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was honored that she came out. she is such an inspiration to everyone, and I was honored to get to interview her. And I'm hoping for the best for her, and I feel like I told her she will be in the majors one day, being a hitting coach. So
I hope she does, and it's women like her that have to keep on stepping up to the plate like this, pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
But they're what's going to really change the trend and change the culture in this sense.
Yeah.
So women like her are very important. They got to keep stepping up and going after these jobs. And if they're fortunate enough to get these jobs, and they should if they know what they're talking about, then more power to them.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to your girlfriend. She's in here. Vic.
Yep. Everybody's waving. I see that.
But yeah. So my next question here, the third base, Gio Sherla. He had a magical season, and I brought up this to Kyle and Danny, but I want to get your take on this. Do you see him not repeating? I'm not going to say repeat the season, but do you see him having another good year, offensive wise?
I see him having another good year. It's good that you mentioned offense-wise, because defense-wise, I think we all know we're going to get a good year from him again, because Gio's great with the glove. And we knew that even when he came here, when there were doubts about his offense, that when he came here, we were going to get a good defensive third baseman. With the bat, it's tough to say, because it's happened a lot of times in sports when a lot of guys have those one-year flukes. And Gio Urshela's past career before the Yankees doesn't do anything to really support him having another season of that caliber. Not to say that he won't. I actually think that he could have another season of that caliber. I attribute it more to the fact that he just loved being a Yankee, and it really motivated him that much more to be better. He fell into a really good position where, unfortunately for Miguel Andujar because of his injury, but he fell into a situation where he was able to be the everyday third baseman as opposed to somebody who might just be shifting in and out and platooning. And he took it with pride, and he did everything he could to be as good of a third baseman as he could be. And as I did in comparison with him and DJ before, saying that they were two of the most important hitters in the Yankee lineup in 2019, I stand by that. I think they were two of the most important hitters, 1 through 9. And I do think it's certainly possible that he could repeat that season. So I'll say he does, because I'm going to lean more towards confidence, and I'm going to say that Gio really just loves being a Yankee. He flourished here. We all know what we're going to get defensively, and I think it'll motivate him again to be great offensively. But again, I know a lot of people like to reference the past, and if you do look in the past, and Gio was like a career 30, something like that. The offensive numbers don't support that, but again, I don't only go by numbers. It's not the kind of person I am.
Yeah.
So I do look at important, but they're not the end all be all for me. I'm not that kind of a person. So I do think a lot of it has to do with surrounding and your personal motivation as well. The other things play in other than just numbers. I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
So I do think that he could repeat that season offensively. I do, and it'd be awesome because people just fell in love with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then for the first base situation, I'm kind of concerned. I mean, obviously, Mike Ford had a good year. Luke Voit. To be honest, in my opinion, Luke Voit is not our solution at first base because he's a one-dimensional player. He's a power hitter. But for Mike Ford, he can play defense. But to be honest, I think the Yankees need to go outside of the organization to find a first baseman, like a future first baseman. I don't see anybody from the minors. I don't know if we have anybody in the minors. But what is your take on the first base situation right now?
This is actually the portion that I actually caught you when you were interviewing Danny. I heard you guys talking about the.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a tough question for me because I really do like Luke Voit. I know that he chokes it up a lot defensively. I know that. But I don't know. I've still found myself defending him a lot of the time because even though, and I'm really ticked off he had the sports hernia thing last year because he was having himself a nice year before that. but I'm a Luke Voigt fan. I really like him at the plate. Not pleasant watching him defensively, as I said. I think Mike Ford gets that edge. I don't know who I choose right now. I really don't. I know it's not the answer everybody's looking for, but I really enjoy watching them both. I loved Mike Ford coming in and hitting that huge home run every now and again and making some nice plays on the field. And I love Luke Voigt, even though he was poor defensively, he occasionally made a nice play. And when he would do that, that was exciting. Yeah. And Luke Voigt has had plenty of big hits and especially home runs, of course. So for the edge right now, I know a lot of people would probably want to side with Ford because there is also the portion of it. A lot of Yankee fans love to reference how much the Yankees are starving for a left-handed hitter. So if you're a Yankee fan out there and you're starving for a lefty, I suppose you might go with Ford. I don't know what people are thinking. For me personally, I might just go with platooning them, depending on what pitcher you're facing that day. So I might go with platooning because I honestly right now I'm not exactly sure which one I would rather. I've enjoyed watching them both.
Do you see? Actually, you know what? Do you see Andujar potentially playing first base at some point?
I'm not sure. I honestly liked how and I know it'd be kind of tough to fit him in anywhere, especially if Stanton, Hicks, and Judge. But this is really what's tough about Andujar. I'm not sure if it's the only place, the absolute only place you could put him without him missing severe time, just sitting on the bench and wasting away. Then I would probably put him at first. But if you could afford to, I would put him in left because even though it was a pretty small sample size, with the spring training that we did have, Andujar looked awfully comfortable in left field. He did, which was very encouraging because I was worried about that. I was like, what if this guy just can't play a position? And
he made some plays, I think, too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did. He looked comfortable out there. It was pretty surprising to me.
Right.
Pleasantly surprising. So if you can afford to put him out there, if there is a spot for him, try to work him into left field a little bit. Maybe platoon him and Stanton DH back and forth. That's just a guess. But there's absolutely nowhere else to put him. Maybe you try it first, but I liked how comfortable he was in left. I really liked it.
Yeah. Someone brought up a good idea here, but I don't know if it's someone said I believe we should get Carson Kelly and Robbie Ray from the D-backs for a package of Voigt and prospects.
Carson,
but isn't it Carson Kelly's the catcher, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I'm not sure. I gotta check in on that. But yeah, Robbie Ray would actually be an interesting name because his name was being thrown around at the trade deadline last year too with the Yankees.
Yeah.
So when the Yankees were, people were jumping down their throat, get a pitcher. Robbie Ray was one of the names being thrown around, but I think the Diamondbacks wanted a lot for him, so it just didn't work out. But yeah, that could maybe be something you look into. I know there are a lot of Yankee fans that like Luke Voigt out there, so there would be a lot of people that would not like that trade.
Yeah, so before we get to the draft, I got 2 more Yankee points for you. First, speaking of catching, Gary, I believe we had the best catcher in the league. I would say JT Realmuto would be number 1 for me, but number 2 we have Gary Sanchez. I think Gary Sanchez is capable of being that number 1 catcher. But do you see him having a monster year for us this year?
If he could stay healthy, yeah, that's another one who's had a tough time staying on the field. Yeah, I do, because we've seen what Gary's capable of when he's healthy, and we've seen what he's capable of when he's on a hot streak. More importantly, because that's another thing about Gary. When Gary is hot, I'm not sure there's another guy you want at the plate in the entire league when Gary's hot than Gary Sanchez. You want at the plate when he's hot. But when he's cold, he's like North Pole cold, like Antarctica.
Yeah.
Ice cold.
Yeah.
It's bad. I've noticed that about Gary in his young career so far. And then plus there's the issue about health. But if he manages to find some consistency, and I think he's already on a good trend with improving defensively. I know there's that one-legged stance that they've been teaching him now, and you saw a little bit of it in spring training, and it looked like it helped him improve a little bit. So I think that if he continues on that trend defensively, I definitely think that that's a big thing for him because a big thing that Gary was criticized for from the start was his poor defense. So if he manages to fix that, it's a big key to the puzzle for him. Another thing is just to stay healthy and find consistency.
Right.
that's his biggest problem because again, when he's hot, he's hitting them 450 feet. He's getting 3 hits in a game. But when he's cold, he's like 1 for 24 with like 15 strikeouts. It gets ugly. So just my main thing with him is some consistency. If he could fix most of or all of those things, he'll have a monster year. Monster.
Okay, here's my last Yankee point before we get to the draft. Reaction when you heard that?
The one thing that I have 3 Savages shirts. 3.
Really? F Savages.
I mean, come on. If that's not your favorite moment, what are you doing?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I got like I only have 1 shirt. I need to get more of them.
Yeah, and there's all different designs. As a matter of fact, yeah. Funny. It was a couple of days after he did that.
Right.
I went to a Yankee game a couple of days after the Savages in the Box thing first happened, and there were the guys outside Yankee Stadium that sell the shirts for like $10. Those guys are just rapid fire. They had all the designs out for the Savages in the Box shirts right away. And I bought 1 Savage in the Box shirt a couple of days after it happened, and it was only for like $10. I bought it right away.
Oh wow! Okay.
And a month or 2 after that, I bought like 2 more. That's why I have 3 now.
Something's going on with this connection. I got to figure it out. But
it was an overwhelming loss. I was at a loss for words. Actually, a little not a fun fact, but when the news broke, I was actually in the middle of recording one of my Yapping Yankees episodes.
Oh, wow.
The news broke on a Sunday. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I record and release every Yapping Yankees episode on Sunday, unless I say otherwise, but it's primarily released on Sundays, and the news came out on a Sunday afternoon. I was literally in the middle of recording my show when I saw the notification pop up on my phone that Kobe Bryant has died in a helicopter crash, and I was like, what? I had to stop recording for about 15 minutes. I was dead in the middle of recording the episode. 15 minutes, I had to stop and like gather my thoughts. I was like, Kobe Bryant is dead? I was like, and then when I heard his daughter wasn't, it was just
that was just devastating. 13 years old.
Terrible. I can't even think about it without being horrified. Like what was going through their mind when it was happening. It brings you to a place that you can't even comprehend. Mm-hmm. So it was an unbelievably shocking loss, both to the world and Kobe's family. Of course, I can't imagine the pain his other children and his wife have gone through and are probably still going through. They'll go through for the rest of their. So it was devastating, and it the fact that I saw it while I was recording an episode and I had to stop, like, you're without words. You're without words. Just like I'm trying to find the words now, even months after. I think many years down the line, people are still going to be trying to find the words to really describe what they felt when that happened. There's no words.
Yeah.
So it was shocking, and so sad and tragic.
Yeah. My last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the frontline people that's helping us out right now in this tough situation?
Absolutely. Everybody that's on the front lines, thank you so much for your bravery and your selflessness. You deserve all the praise in the world, honestly, and then some. This virus is scary, despite what other people think. I know this is somebody who had a loved one, being my father, who had it. And 2 of the days that he was dealing with it, when his temperature was 103.5, said he felt like he was going to die. And hearing my father say that is scary. This virus kicks the crap out of a lot of people, and it kills some people even. It should be taken seriously. And the fact that there are people out there that without a second's hesitation go to the front lines and put their lives on the line so selflessly for everybody, helping people heal, trying to get people as much testing as they can. If people can have as many opinions on, people, whether people thought that the governments weren't prepared or whatnot, that's a whole other discussion. When it comes to the frontline people, they're doing all they can, and they're doing all they can with what they have. And without a second hesitation, most of them, they just go in there, they do their job, and some of them are working an ungodly amount of hours too in a day. It's unbelievable. And I do recognize this and how difficult it is. I know some people who are like, I just got off of a 12-hour shift or a 16-hour shift. Some of them don't even go home or are afraid to go home because they don't want to bring the virus home to their loved ones. It's like, it's a crazy world we're living in right now. It's a crazy time, and it makes it that much more difficult when we don't have these little things like sports to distract us. And it's really scary. And in the midst of all of it, the frontline people are the ones all in front of us, protecting us from it. And they're putting their lives on the line every day. And I could not thank them enough for that. I could say thank you a million times. It still wouldn't be enough. So I just want to really drive home the appreciation I have for them. And I hope all of them stay safe, and I hope everybody else out there stays safe too, and that life can return to some sense of normalcy, because after an ordeal like this, unfortunately, I don't think life is going to be 100% the same as it was before.
Yeah.
But there will be things that'll change, because this has left an unbelievable dent on the planet, not just us. So I do hope that everybody stays safe and we can return to some sense of normalcy as soon as possible.
Yeah, well said, Mike. Well said. And I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast today. Everyone go follow Mike on Twitter, Instagram. Go follow his podcast, Yapping Yankees. He does a great job as always. I hope we can talk again soon. You and your family stay safe, and then let's go Yankees.
Absolutely, Nathan. You too. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.
Yeah, no problem. And then I'll be posting this on all social media formats tonight, so you'll see it.
Awesome. Right. You're a good guy. Good to talk to you.
Take it easy. Yep. See you.
Take care.